Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
Welcome back to Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. This will be our draft recap and grading episode. We'll talk through every single pick, the options that were on the board with each pick, the decision making the Bengals had to make with each selection, and ultimately how I feel overall as a class. Some of the things we can learn from this class and learn about the Bengals. Some of the things I think we can learn about what they plan on doing. How many of these guys should we expect to be starters, maybe future contributors, and generally where they stack up against everyone else in the league? Because even if we like their draft class, if we stack it up against all of the other teams, where does it rank then? Because every team feels like they got better. But before we do that, I just wanted to give a shout out to First Star. We did our third annual draft party this last weekend. I hope you guys watched it and tuned in to that. It was at the Handlebar at the Great American Ballpark. That was a blast, a good time. Some crazy prizes that they gave away. Eric All was there. Andre Yoshivash was there. The golf cart that they gave away is absolutely insane. So shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Dave Burke, also the guy who does all the editing and makes all these videos look so good. He handled everything from a technical aspect in the background, and you did a fantastic job. So shout out to Dave and Alan and Lap and Brad Johansson, everyone that was on the stage as well, that carried the show and just allowed me to watch the draft from, from the screen and give my tidbits when I could there, and put on a brave face as the Bengals went through day 2 of the draft. But it was a great time. I hope you guys can be there next year. And for everyone that came up and talked to me and, spent some time with me and shared some draft thoughts and, were super nice. I appreciate you guys and thank you for watching and following and being part of the journey. The draft is one of my favorite events of the entire year, not just football. I've been covering it for 17 years now, and I do it from a Bengals perspective, but I also have my eyes on every other team. That's why I feel good about the process I put together. That's why I feel good about my evaluations and confident about my evaluations. And it's why I've grown into the, position I am, where I can give these takes and feel good about it, and lucky enough to have people take them for what they are. You know what I mean? They're just my opinion. And sometimes they're backed by data. They're backed by my film evaluations as well. Maybe backed by people I talk to, to add on to that. Whatever it is, this is where I fall. This is where I lay. And we're going to start it off by first seeing if the rest of the NFL draft world is correct by looking at the consensus draft grading from everyone, from the lower ranking guys to the Mel Kipers of the world. This graphic put together here puts the Bengals at 32nd overall for draft class grades around the league. So when you get to mine, let's go ahead and attack. It's okay. I can take it. But understand that the entirety of the draft world agrees that the Bengals may have fumbled this one a little bit. Bengals kicked this draft off at 17, picking Shemar Stewart, the defensive end from Texas A&M, the former 5-star recruit that looks like and is built like a Greek god. I mean, maybe even crazier than that, like a superhero, like LeBron James, really. He's 6'5", and he's huge. And I think he was 267 at the combine. I think he plays at 275. I think he can get to 280. And his arms are freakishly long. Wingspan's crazy, super strong. Just an absolute bull in a china shop, wrecking ball, chaos creator. That sounds great, right? 21 years old, one of the youngest guys in this class as well. All that is great. The Bengals' decision-making in this process was, hey, we'd like to get Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan at defensive tackle. And if not, we'll take Shemar Stewart. And if Shemar Stewart wasn't there, they were looking at Tyler Booker and Malachi Starks and Jalen Walker. The only other guy that was there at that time was Malachi Starks. So if you want to know their thought process and who else it could have been Walter Nolan, one pick ahead, but could have been Malachi Starks as well for the Bengals at 17. Now, Shemar Stewart, I didn't give him a good grade on film. We did an episode here, right, on Bengals on the Brain. You guys know how I feel about him. I've talked about Stewart. He seemed to really lack high level, and even not even high level, just adequate level awareness and understanding of what's going on around him. Absolutely no pass rush plan, maybe even worse of a plan than Miles Murphy as a pass rusher. Production just absolutely dreadful. One of the worst production scores from a first round pick that we've seen in 20 years. So it's tough. It's tough to get on board with that when the production says, spot starter, low end starter. The athleticism, the size, and he didn't do athletic testing fully because he didn't do his agilities, which show up on tape as well. It's part of the reason why he misses so many tackles and didn't come down with more sacks, I think. It's because it's hard for him to bend the corner. He will get pressures. If you bring up pressures and all that on a quarterback, that is true. He will get pressure. In fact, it might get Hendrickson 3 more sacks this year because he will get more pressure than the husk of Sam Hubbard that was out there last year. He should get more pressure than Miles Murphy and Joseph Ossai as well, especially if he develops even a little bit. Stewart will run through your face, plow through you, and even take on 2 guys and split them and cause a bunch of chaos. I would twist and stunt with him all day long. Send him inside, send him outside from the inside, and just have him wreck. Be the Justin Smith to Aldon Smith, if you guys remember that. If you go back to the 49er days, Justin Smith would go in and just wreck the tackle and guard. Aldon Smith would loop around and get the sack. I think you can do that with a guy like Shemar Stewart, and he doesn't care. He's willing to do it. He did it at Texas A&M. So he created chaos for a lot of other players to clean up in that defense, and did so from everything from defensive end all the way to nose at times. And put on the Arkansas game, he's at nose and he's causing chaos there because centers can't keep up with him. Centers usually the smallest and not the most athletic guys, not the best in one-on-one pass protection. Shemar Stewart's killing them. But he needs to learn how to use his hands. He doesn't know where the ball is. That's why he gets caught off guard so much. As a run defender, though, it's interesting. He is hard to block as a run defender. He gets good grades this past year from PFF as run defense. His first 2 years, not good. Freshman, terrible, right? And that makes sense. Apparently, he only played a few years of high school ball. But you watch him one-on-one, he's locking guys out, and he's so strong and so long. And then I don't know if he knows where the ball is, or if his anticipation or processing is slow, or just doesn't react quick enough. Maybe he needs contacts. I don't know. His run stop rate is extremely low for his career, but he's on tape, he's a solid run defender. You can see it. But he doesn't make plays. He has 30 solo tackles in 37 games. How? You'll watch a game and he'll have 7 pressures in that game, 1 tackle, no sacks. It's like, okay, how does that happen? How do you have that many pressures and 1.5 sacks? And all of his sacks, almost all of his sacks have come in the first couple weeks of the season every year, and then he's done. How does that happen? It's because he doesn't disengage. So if you're blasting right into that tackle or that guard and right into the quarterback's lap, and the quarterback can still escape and move because you can't get off the guy, or you can't bend around the corner, or you miss tackles, 8 missed tackle sacks over the last 2 years. That would have made his production look much better. So can we get him to tackle? Can we give him a pass rush plan? Can we get his awareness? He needs reps there. Can we get his awareness elevated? Can those things be fixed? We talked about Derek Harmon and his tackling. Shemar Stewart has missed more tackles on a higher percentage in his career than Derek Harmon. One of the worst tacklers at defensive end. One of the worst tacklers in this class. So we got to figure that out. But I think he starts, and I think he plays, and I think he offers upside. He offers chaos. I think you can kick him in at defensive tackle and let him rush from there, because then his agility isn't such a big negative. It's a negative when you're at defensive end, right? These tackles are super athletes, especially at that size. Get him inside, though, where the less athletic guys usually go inside. Get him inside. Let him be even more. Length is an advantage, and now athleticism is an advantage for him. That's how you turn him into a superpower. I've talked about this a little bit on Twitter when I was talking about Dax Hill inside. Why I like Dax Hill inside in the slot? Because most guys aren't that big, that fast, that long in the slot. It makes him different. It makes him valuable. Get Shemar Turner, and Shemar Turner was the other defensive tackle from Texas A&M. Shemar Stewart inside. If I say that, I'm sorry. And also Jalen Rivers and Jalen Travis later. Going to mess me up. Get Shemar Stewart inside. And then if you are going to rush him from the edge, what I never got to see him do at Texas, well, not too much, I should say, wide 9 him. All the way out to wide 9 technique. And what that does is give you a two-way against the offensive tackle. Number one, the tackle's got to get out in a stance and get depth. And that gives you space back inside without needing to actually run the arc with agility and ankle flexion. What it does is allows you to cut back inside and bull rush if you need to. Wide nine, Shemar Stewart, if you're going to play him at the end. If you're not going to get him inside as much as I think, and I think they will, wide nine him. Let him go wide. Let him rush through the tackle and bounce back inside if you can. I don't want him running the arc. I don't know that he can. I don't know he's got enough experience to do it either. I remember at the Senior Bowl, he got a couple wins running the arc, but every other time was like, ooh, he just does not have the moves, the timing. He doesn't understand it because his get off is good. So I want to turn that speed into power, which he has, raw power. So like if you're asking me, you give me a player, I'm a coach, right? And the personnel people draft Shemar Stewart. I'm like, all right, here's what we do. And that's my plan. And that's how I maximize that guy. And I expect the Bengals to do very similar things the way they were speaking about him. So, I'm not high on the pick. I think that's too much risk. Ideally, in the first round, I want a guy who has a path to playing time. Shemar Stewart does. This is gonna make me look terrible if I say his name wrong more than twice. All right, Shemar Stewart has a path to playing time. I want a guy that's young. Shemar Stewart's young. Great. I want a guy that's athletic. Shemar Stewart's athletic. The other things are, I want a guy who's not injured. Great. Shemar Stewart's not injured. I want good character. Check for Shemar Stewart again. The only thing I want past that is really good tape, which I can't give that to Shemar Stewart. If you say rely on the tape, don't rely on the numbers. I don't agree that Shemar Stewart has good tape. I graded him on tape as a late second round pick. And then productions of a third, fourth rounder. So that's why I'm scary of this pick. He has all those other 5 things, but tape and production, I kind of need those in the first round, and which is why I wouldn't have drafted him at that spot. Round 2 comes around now. And for me, the dream scenario here is let me get one of these top guards. Let's protect Joe Burrow. And if not, some of the good safeties were still there, and I'm interested in that. There was a lot of good DNs too. Like if we didn't take Shemar Stewart, there's some good defensive ends still remaining. But whatever, we move on. You get there, and Tate Ratledge is still on the board. I'm excited for Tate Ratledge. I think he'd be awesome next to Marius Mims. You plug and play and fix right guard right there, and you protect Joe Burrow. Enough said. And I'm telling you, the Bengals also really, really liked Tate Ratledge. He was number 2 on their board to Demetrius Knight. Whatever the argument was between maybe it was Peters and the linebackers coach, maybe it was Dan Pitcher and Al Golden, whoever's arguing it out, the defensive side won. And they took Demetrius Knight, which I like Knight on tape. So I gave a 75 to Stewart, which is an end second round, third round, early third round grade. I gave a 77 to Demetrius Knight. I would take that on tape in round 2. Just to be clear. I know people they see the score on the spreadsheet and think I'm instantly negative on him. I like Demetrius Knight on tape. I cannot say that enough. I should like Demetrius Knight on tape. He was 24 years old. He's tackling children, right? I mean, guys, that's why we use age so much, because age has predictive value and how much better, a player can get in 2 years, 3 years, right? He may be better right now. And I agree. I have him the 3rd highest linebacker grade in this class on tape. He may be better than a lot of these guys that are 21 and 22 years old right now. But in 2 years, will he still be better than those guys when they're 23, 24, 25? Probably not. The data in history says that he won't be. And there's a chance that those younger guys outplay Demetrius Knight. Now, having said that, character-wise, love Demetrius Knight. This guy door dashing, has a family and children, a wife and children. He's a grown man. If you interview him and you're like, oh yeah, he's real mature against these 21-year-olds that we're also interviewing. Yeah, he should be. So that's a good thing. You know he's mature. Don't count it twice, I guess, because you already know he's older. Good enough athlete. Good, in my opinion, I thought he was a better athlete on tape than he showed in testing. Former quarterback. You can see that at times, especially in coverage as he's bouncing around to whatever he thinks is the next guy. Like say they got a hook and a in route behind him, right? If they got a sit glance combination, he's bouncing between the two windows and taking away from the quarterback. He's when you see him checking, he's like, oh no, we're running the other way now. He can tell. He knows it. He's been there. Only 1 year of production. He transferred to multiple small schools and then played 1 year at South Carolina. Was very good though. Was their captain in 1 year. Watch the Alabama game. Absolutely. Maybe that's a game we'll watch because I didn't do a video on Demetrius Knight for Bengals on the Brain. We'll watch Demetrius Knight versus Alabama. It's insane. You want to get excited? That's the game. That's a game where I was like, oh yeah, I take that in the second round. No doubt about it. He can blitz. He can close in a flash. He takes great angles. He's a great tackler, super long arms, and he's solid in coverage. And I think he can be an inside or outside backer, whatever you need him to do. I like Demetrius Knight. I hate the value. I hate picking from the weakest group class, right? Last year they did this. It was a weak nose tackle class last year. They took McKinley Jackson. We're going to take the first one before everyone else does, other than T'Vondre Sweat. Sweat went way early, right? And then it was like everyone else should go rounds 4 through 7. The Bengals said, nope, we'll take the first one. They did that again with Demetrius Knight. There are 10 more linebackers that were drafted that have as good of a chance of being good players as Demetrius Knight does after him. And the Bengals felt they had to get Knight. They love Knight. They felt they had to get him. Like I told you, it was Knight, Tate Ratledge, Kevin Winston Jr. was third. Barrett Carter was fourth. And we'll get back to Barrett Carter and why they took him. That's why, because he was high on their board. That's how their next board, that's how their board in round 2 went. So they loved Knight and thought he was good. You like Tate Ratledge? So did they. They thought Knight was better, which is crazy. It's crazy to me that they would take a linebacker over a guard you like a guard that much. You would take him over you would take a linebacker over a guard. In this class where there's going to be 10 guys on day 3 at linebacker that are going to be solid. That's what kind of class it was. Over a guard to protect Joe Burrow that you also really, really, really like. That's insane. That's insane. That's bad value. That's bad process. You may believe you really love this player. Use other resources that would say, slow down a little bit. Slow down. He's not supposed to go that high. You've done this before where you really love Jackson Carman. You really love Drew Sample. And I liked Sample. I mocked Sample to the Bengals in the 6th round. I wasn't that late on Demetrius Knight. I thought 3rd round. I've had mock drafts where I picked them in the 3rd round. So I didn't have a problem with Demetrius Knight on tape. And he should get a chance to start. And I think it is an upgrade over Jermaine Pratt. Not in just one area. Like Shemar Stewart's going to add more chaos than Sam Hubbard. More good and bad, right? Because he's gonna miss more than Hubbard did. I think Demetrius Knight is better than Jermaine Pratt right now. Plug him, play him, start him, upgrade. Love it. Let's do that. Value is terrible. Again, not to harp on that too much, but it's part of drafting. You want to maximize the entirety of you only have 6 picks. You only have 6 picks. You got to maximize them as best as possible. If you take a bunch of 5th round guys, not saying that's what these guys are. I'm saying if you did, it's a terrible draft, even if you got 5 guys you really loved. So the arbitrary thing is you loving them. Does that make sense? We can love a lot of guys that are 7th undrafted. I loved Hunter Wooler. He went the 6th, 7th round, whatever it was. I knew he wasn't going to go in that. I'm not taking him in round 2 because I knew he was supposed to go later. You got to be open to what the rest of the draft world thinks. That way you can assess the correct spot to take these guys. You had Barrett Carter possibility in round 2. You had Barrett Carter in possibility in round 2. He did not go till round 4. What does that tell you about Knight? What does that tell you? That even if you would have missed on Knight, so what? You would have got Barrett Carter. You were considering him at 49. Or round 2, I should say. Maybe they would have traded back. But you would have considered him in round 2. You got him in the 4th round. So you didn't have to have Knight. Round 3, Dylan Fairchild, left guard out of Georgia. And here's a guy that you can see the vision. Remind you of Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller was drafted by the Bills. Didn't work. Very similar profile. They got him later, but didn't work for the Bills. They traded him to Bill Callahan in Cleveland with Scott Peters there, and they redid his mechanics completely. They said, you're strong, you're big, you've got good length, you'll work. We just got to get your mechanics to be this. take the fight to them. Be less reactive and take it to them. Wyatt Teller became a Pro Bowl, I think all-pro player. Very good player. Let's just keep it as that and not, worry about the details there. Very good player. Dylan Fairchild looks like that. He's thickly built, square shouldered, broad shoulders, very strong, wrestling, tremendous wrestling background. Someone said I'm underrating wrestling background. No, I am not underrating wrestling background. I'm not overrating wrestling background. I'm accurately, in my opinion, I'm accurately rating wrestling background. It's good quality. It is catnip for O-line coaches. It's catnip for all these draft guys. Oh, you wrestled? Yeah, I know. You don't think I'm in these conversations? I've coached youth teams. I'm with my son all the time. He's going through high school recruiting for football. You come here, we're gonna get you on the wrestling team too. That'll get you in, get you what you need in the trenches. All right, yeah, cool. I'm not underrating it. I appreciate it. But when you watch Dylan Fairchild, so when I said, and I think someone said this in response to this, because my evaluation was he's a wrestler. He wants to wrestle, and that can be a negative. Why? Because he wants everything close quarters combat, and he wants to flip and pull these guys down and rip them down. That's good, but not everything is close. Not everything's face to face in the trenches. It is a lot of times. But he's got good length. He needs to use that length. He not just always get guys inside of you and let them inside and try to wrestle them that way and out leverage them and torque them out of there. Keep them at distance. Keep them at bay. Now, the positives and negatives other than that, because I think he needs a reworking of that. And it sounds like he already is on Scott Peters' plan, and that's why they connected. And that's probably why round 2 we're like, all right, let's not take Ratledge here. Let's get Fairchild in round 3. I think I can get him up to that level. If that was the argument from Scott Peters, I get it. But then round 3 came and Kevin Winston's still there. Fairchild wasn't being considered at 49. Winston was. Winston and Carter were. Take Winston. But we don't get a guard. Well, then sign a damn guard and stop messing around. Then call Dalton Reisner, Will Hernandez, Brandon Scherf, and say, what is the cost? Let's get you on the team right now. And you take Kevin Winston Jr. in round 3 instead. He went 1 pick later to the Tennessee Titans and Brian Callahan. So, positives and negatives. Negatives for Fairchild. Run blocking scoring is not great for him. And I think he would agree with that. Pass block scoring, great for Dylan Fairchild. Great for this team. They don't do a lot of true pass sets, though, at Georgia. We talked about this with Amarius Mims. So there's some gray area there where maybe he won't be as good because his data, like if it was all even, very good. It says he should be a good pass protector in the NFL. So that's good. We want that. That is, I get the vision. I'm in. But because they don't do true pass sets too often, there is some, maybe it won't be as. We talked about this with Mims. We don't know yet. We'll have to see. There's some gray areas. Projection. There's hope in that when you don't know for sure. The other part so those are good things. And super strong. I mean, long arms, we want all that. The other risk in his profile, why he grades a little bit lower for us, is that he didn't test athletically. I think he did his vertical or his broad, one of the jumps, and it was fine. I don't think he's an elite athlete. I think he's a gym rat athlete. I think he's strong. He probably would have been at least average. I don't think he would have been a bad athlete. He doesn't look fat, nothing like that. He's not carrying bad weight. He would have been at least average, and we gave him an average athleticism score. Anyone that doesn't go in the top 70 or 75, whatever it is, gets an average athleticism score. Maybe he would have been a little bit better. If he was a 75th percentile athlete, he would have had a 73.3 score. Would have been the highest player they've graded this year that they drafted. I'm sorry. It would have been the highest score player that they drafted. If he was even an above average 75th percentile athlete. I'm hitting things. I'm using my hands a lot lately. I'm talking with my hands. Very animated. Okay. And get myself back on track here. And so if he is that type of athlete, I think he had a calf injury. It's why he didn't do the rest. But also when guys say that, if you're a great athlete, you find a way to get these done somehow. Usually they're average athletes or less when they don't do their testing. The data says he's got like a 6.8 or 7.8 chance. Can't remember what it is exactly. I did this study for subscribers on Twitter. If you're interested, a lot of data there, a lot of information, a lot of opinions, a lot of film clips. He's got about a 7% chance, let's say, of making a Pro Bowl as a first 3-round interior offensive lineman drafted that did not do athletic testing. Not great. If he would have been a 7.5 or above, he would have been in a 62% chance. So I would have rather play in those waters, which is why his score is lower and carries some risk. If he would have been an average athlete or above average athlete, he would have scored very well for us. That pass pro data is good and key. If he ends up being a starter at left guard and is real good in pass pro, if he's Dalton Reisner, which is what Reisner is, really good in pass pro, not great run blocker, great. We'll take that all day long. He's got a great chance to outplay the score we gave him because he didn't test, which leaves some unknowns. So now we move into round 4 after the Bengals chose Dylan Fairchild over Kevin Winston Jr. Again, I'm gonna look at these and say, would you rather have Tate Ratledge and Kevin Winston Jr. in second and third, or Demetrius Knight and Dylan Fairchild in second and third? Answer that in the comments if you haven't commented yet, or comment again. Tell me which of those two would you rather have. And yeah, you would need to have linebacker. But round 4, the guy you were considering in round 2, Barrett Carter, is still available. And Barrett Carter is a fine prospect. He's a great athlete. I like Barrett Carter. I gave him a grade that's not too far off from Knight. And the Bengals agreed. He wasn't too far back. He was the next linebacker they wanted. He was still there in the 4th round. That tells you were overvaluing linebacker a little bit. And I think Carter's different. I think Carter's an inside backer that can help in coverage. Should be able to. He's a lot like Akeem Davis-Gaither. It reminded me when they went Logan Wilson and then Akeem Davis-Gaither. Because I don't know if you get a spot for Carter. Like, when does he play? Does he play over Oren Burks? Probably not. Not this year. Does he end up starting over Logan Wilson at some point? Logan Wilson fade off and then Carter starts? Maybe. Maybe that's his path in 2 years. Until then, he's probably a role player like Akeem Davis-Gaither. Probably a special team standout with that speed and athleticism. That'd be awesome. So I'm for it. There's nothing wrong with that. This is right around where he should have been drafted. And you got him in the 4th. Fair value, an athlete, where you should draft a linebacker, right? It seems like he's got great character, great size, great speed. Production is solid. It's not great. PFF grades are okay. They're not great. But that's 4th round. That's what you're supposed to get. That's where you're supposed to draft them. No issues with that. I thought they did well on day 3. They got guys. They didn't take any like the extreme fallers that I would have loved to have that could have saved their draft. How did the Eagles get Antoine Powell-Ryland where they do? So many of these teams that get these fallers. Bengals didn't. They just stayed to their board. Their board must have been weird this year, though. No flags on these guys. No character flags at all. We're not taking a Jermaine Burton. Not. They're not on the board. We're not doing it. They probably had 120 guys on their board. So they take Barrett Carter. Stay true to the board. The board says we should have taken him in the 2nd round. The only off the board one where they went below, it seems like, was with Dylan Fairchild, but they needed a guard. You can't tell me the offensive coaches weren't ready to flip the table. If you draft Kevin Winston over a guard right now, we're going to lose our shit. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm sorry, Kevin. But that's probably what they were saying. And so they said, okay, we'll take Dylan Fairchild. Scott Peters, we brought you on here to fix him, get him up, get him ready to go. Dan Pitcher said, favorite to win the left guard job. Okay, well, let's talk about that. So Barrett Carter, fine pick. You go into the 5th round now, and hey, let's double dip on offensive line. We like the guys that are still out. 2 guys they would have considered in the 5th round that ended up not being there. More defensive linemen, Tonka Hemingway and the other defensive tackle, Ty Hamilton from Ohio State. Those are the 2 that they were considering. And instead, Jalen Rivers is still there. And Jalen Rivers is a good player. Jalen Rivers could have went in the 4th round, in my opinion. I don't think that would have went crazy. He's got tackle size and length. Moves more like a guard. It'd be interesting to see what he does. He's played split between left tackle, left guard in his career. That's an ideal backup. 5th round, that's where they go. 5th round, I get a guy that can play tackle and guard. Maybe a low-end starter in his future. Sounds great. Let's do it. 5th round. That's great value. That's where he should have been. 4th, 5th round. Perfect. Got no problem with Jalen Rivers in the 5th round. None. He's going to make the team. As 5th rounders don't always make the team. That's the first time. All 4th rounders typically, All third and fourth rounders, typically like 99% of them make it. Fifth rounders, you get down to like 90% of them make it. Sixth is like 80%. Seven is like 50% of them. Jalen Rivers is going to make the team. In fact, he could be the first swing tackle off the bench. You got to practice him on the right side because he's only done the left, but everyone needs to practice somewhere and have that versatility. And if he's got guard upside, the Bengals have really lifted the depth on the interior of the offensive line. I like the way they've drafted offensive line the last couple of years, actually. Marius Mims, Matt Lee, two really good prospects. I still am huge on Matt Lee. We'll talk about the undrafted center they added this year. And when we get to it, watch a film on it probably in a week or so. We're going to watch a lot of these undrafted guys. Watch the drafted guys first, their best game, so we can be excited. Then we'll get to undrafted guys. We'll get to Seth McLaughlin. Dylan Fairchild, great pass protection data. Had a great connection with Scott Peters. Okay, I'm in. I'd have rather him in the fourth round where the consensus had him. I'd rather Demetrius Knight in the third round where the consensus had him. But it didn't work that way. Fine. And then Jalen Rivers. I like this. These are better picks. This is not Trey Hill. This is not Jackson Carman. We had Carman rated lower than Jalen Rivers. You want to know how good Jalen Rivers is? He graded higher than Jackson Carman did. This is not those guys. It's not Trey Hill, Deontay Smith, Jackson Carman picks. It's not that. That's good. They shouldn't be bums right away. They should have a chance to play. And if they do, and you maybe in the future, let's go 2 years in the future. Dylan Fairchild at left guard. Maybe they sign Orlando Brown Jr. Let's go. Orlando Brown Jr. is still young enough. Dylan Fairchild, Matt Lee at center, Jalen Rivers at right guard, or Marius Mims right tackle. Could you imagine if they did all that in a matter of 2 years? I almost can't. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. I see the path to it happening. And we'll get to why at the end when I get to my grade. And then you get to the sixth round. Taj Brooks, running back, Texas Tech. A ball of knives running is what I saw when I was reading the scouting report. I love that. He is a bowling ball, completely. 5'9". So we got two short running backs, but good density on Chase Brown. People don't realize he's 210 at 5'9". That's great. Taj Brooks, though, they said he's playing at 225 to 230. You can see it on tape. It's a little slow at times, right? Lateral agility, very good. Cuts, very good. Balance. Contact balance, tremendous. One of the hardest guys to tackle in this draft. Good in pass pro, too. All out of shotgun. Great fit. I needed some power. I needed some guys to break tackles. I needed some density in that backfield. That ran out of the shotgun. Taj Brooks, sign him up. Let's go. A lot of wear and tear, same as Chase Brown. That's why you get him later. If you end up with running back 1 and 2, and one was a former 5th rounder, one was a 6th rounder, I think that's tremendous value. Yes, I'm in. Sign me up. Taj Brooks, we're going to watch, for you UC fans, we are going to watch Taj Brooks versus Cincinnati. Can't wait for that one. That's going to be a whole episode. We're just going to sit back. Let's do that for a Friday night. Let's get a drink. Let's just watch that. Like, yeah, that's our guy. Tie him to the hip of Samaje Perine, another density bulk dude that seems to have the right mindset, pass protector as well. Taj, you are following Samaje Perine. That's how we're going to get the most out of you. So I can see the path for all of these guys. And you see the scores down there. Remember the tape scores. So if you're wondering like why mine don't match that includes multiple people. That's not just me that we do that we use on the spreadsheet. So you see these scores down here, and they're all in the 70s, basically. Fairchild a little bit less because he didn't test. And you say, that's not bad. When you think about the opportunity, though, to draft safer, higher upside players, because I think this is actually a low ceiling, high floor draft. I know the scores represent risk. They also try to capture upside. Rarely do we see these guys that score low become all pro players. So it's a high floor. I think you can play Shemar Stewart. You can play Dylan Fairchild. You can start Terrence Knight. You may be able to start Barrett Carter. Jalen Rivers could potentially be a low-end starter. Taj Brooks can probably be a low-end running back. But is the upside there? Probably not. Just based on these factors that are missing in profiles that typically lead to who are the best players in every draft, guys that are big, fast, young, and productive with great character and intelligence, right? They usually have all of those things. If you're looking for an all-pro player, if you're looking for a Pro Bowl player, they usually have everything. Like even T. Higgins, good player. We all agree. Is not a Pro Bowl player. Why? Because he's just a cut below. It takes a special player to be a Pro Bowl player. Just a cut below is not a knock. So when I say low-end starter, Cam Taylor-Britt, low-end starter. Jordan Battle, low-end starter. Jermaine Pratt, low-end starter. Those guys made a ton of plays for you. You can have low-end starters. Maybe that's what Shemar Stewart is. Maybe he's just a souped-up Sam Hubbard. Sam Hubbard was a low-end starter, in my opinion. Maybe a little bit above. No, I think he was a low-end starter. Maybe a little above. I'm battling myself here. But there's a lot of low-end starters like Drew Sample, Zach Moss, Andre Yosibach. Could you get those out of this draft? Yes. Yes, you can. Did we want more? No doubt about it. Of course we wanted more. Of course we want the opportunity to draft 3 Pro Bowl players. Now come guard us. Now let's see this defense get flipped. Of course, we wanted better. We wanted more. So my ranking and my grading put them as the 32nd, you can see here on the side here, or the 31st, I'm sorry, the 31st ranked team. I was with the consensus, and I did this before I saw the consensus that we started this episode with that had them as 32nd. I just didn't like the Packers draft, and I gave all the reasonings for all of these on Twitter at Joe Goodberry. Find the thread. I even linked last year's thread if you want to go back and look at those teams, if it's interesting to you. I have only been doing the threads for 2 years. I should have always been doing this. We can go back and look, have data on all these guys going back, and I'm going to start rolling some of these former Bengals drafts going back to 2020 on the side here so you can see how they score. And we've been wrong before. Of course we've been wrong. Of course. We're trying to use predictive data, though. So we're going to be more right than wrong, but we're going to be wrong. If Shemar Stewart ends up making Pro Bowls, great. Hoo-day. I'm in. Don't forget that part. I'm going to be critical. People, I have done this for so long that I've seen both sides, where people say I'm overhyping these players. Joe, you're overhyping Joseph Ossai. I think he's a good prospect that could play well. Joe, you're underrating Miles Murphy. Joe, you're overrating Dax Hill. Whoever it may be. Joe, you're underrating Andre Yosibach. I've been wrong plenty of times. I will continue to be wrong. And that's why I continue to do the project, because it's an experiment for me. It's fun. I hope they all overplay what I expect. I expect them to mostly all be low-end starters, maybe reaching above that, which is why I'm low on them. Just because you have the opportunity to play doesn't mean they're a good starter. We see these graphs sometimes that say the Bengals had the most starters from this class to that year. Yeah, because their team was terrible. They had to start these guys. That's not what we want. We want to be more active in free agency so that Dylan Fairchild can get 2 years to work on those mechanics that he needs, the way Wyatt Teller did. We want to give these guys the opportunity to develop without thrusting them in there because we absolutely need them to play. Right? So this is one of the worst drafts they've had. And just a blunt way to put it. But I expect a lot of contributors out of it. So that's why it's interesting to me. They're in line to contribute and play. Dax Hill, Miles Murphy, Joseph Ossai would have dreamed, they would have killed to have the same opportunity in front of them that this class does. Those guys were drafted and had to sit and watch. They still didn't develop. These guys, well, maybe they did. Maybe we'll see them now. But these guys are going to be, you're thrown in. Dylan Fairchild, you're starting. Demetrius Knight, you're starting. Shemar Stewart, I expect him to start. You play 4 defensive ends a lot. The 5th guy will play too. Stewart will play, and will play a lot. 500 snaps, I'm thinking. And that's with Hendrickson. So if Hendrickson's not there, it's even more. Your pass rush may be relying on Miles Murphy and Shemar Stewart, who had a combined 1.5 sacks last year. Let's go. Like, I wanted more. I didn't want to roll that same dice again. I wanted guys that were productive in college that had pass rush plans. Donovan Izaraku, Princely Uman Milan, Ashton Jaloti. Those are guys I thought were better than Stewart. But I hope Stewart's great. I love the character of all these guys. That's worth a lot. They didn't want to go down the same road they did. So, tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me how you would grade it. Tell me if you'd like those other options I presented earlier. This has been Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. Until we watch the film on the next one. Who dey?
Bengals fans, tired of the same old post-game chatter? Want real insight beyond the scoreboard? Then you need Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, presented by First Star Logistics. Joe Goodberry isn't just a fan, he's a die-hard Bengals football analyst. Every week, Joe dives deep into the Bengals game film, breaking down the plays that mattered, revealing hidden strategies, and uncovering the true impact of individual performances. Get ready for post-game analysis like you've never heard before, player evaluations that go beyond the stats, and the most in-depth Bengals draft coverage on the internet. Don't just watch the Bengals, understand the Bengals. Subscribe to Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry on the First Star Media Group's YouTube channel. Get smart, get obsessed, get Bengals on the Brain.